Greetings, ladies and melons, and welcome to this latest edition of RE074, where I take old stories I've narrated and update them to modern audio standards. This particular story is called Heirloom, written by LgFatherAnthrocite. David Potter was a master craftsman, but making art doesn't pay the bills. He slung a lump of clay on his wheel and began to kick the base around to spin it. Using wet hands, he quickly formed a small vessel. He rolled the top edge, adjusted the shape, and with a few more spins to double-check his work, nodded to his assistant that it was done. It took him less than 20 minutes, start to finish. A journeyman potter would take the better part of an hour. His assistant stepped in and sliced it off the wheel, placing on a wooden plank to dry. In a few days, the pieces would be set to the kiln, and for several days there would be little rest as they tended the fires. After splashing some water on the top of the wheel, David Potter slung another lump of clay on the wheel. After a week of air drying, the pieces were loaded into a brick kiln. It was sealed with mud, and a fire was started. Several weeks later, after a week of firing the kiln and a week to let it cool slowly, the mud was caked off and the pottery was removed. There were, as always, a few that had shattered during the firing process, but the vast majority were fine. Most would be sold as is. A few would be glazed and refired. David took the top part of the stack and checked it for cracking and warping. It looked exceptionally fine, with a nice smooth surface finish. He placed it in a pile of pots to be glazed. He went through and selected 24 pieces for glazing, and then told his assistants to bring the rest to the store. It had been a month since the initial firing, and now it was time to unseal the kiln again and examine the freshly glazed pieces. He sorted through the pieces and selected a few for personal delivery, and a few for the shop. The last piece he pulled was a pot, one of many. It had a strangely shaped pattern in the glaze, as it sat near a vent and got inconsistent heat throughout the process. He set it aside. He would give it to his daughter. She was of marrying age, and it could be part of a dowry.
"Grandma, where'd you get this pot from?"
asked Samantha Smith, 8 years old, 3rd grade class of Smith Elementary, Dingo Barn County, Georgia.
"It's a family heirloom. My great-great-grandmother brought it over with her from England when she came to America," said Betty Smith. "It's been in the family since it was made by my great-great-great-grandfather, David Potter. That's how some people got their last names, you know. It was what they did for a living. Imagine being Samantha Nurse or Samantha Lawyer. Wouldn't that be funny?"
"Grandma, you're silly,"
said Samantha with a giggle. Sarah Cooper was trying to decide what to bring. She had a personal weight allotment of 20 pounds. She was torn between antique earth-round pot, glazed in a rippled blue pattern, which had been in her family for nearly 350 years, and the beautiful hand-carved wooden horses that had been a wedding gift from an old college roommate. She looked back and forth at the two, and finally decided that she would give the horses to her sister. The pot was going on the colony ship, and her sister would have the horse statues she adored to remember her sister by. Janice Potter was informed of the protocol at the very last minute. Trexlaxile custom dictated that a gift had to be a personal object, not something that was provided by governing bodies. It was a way to know who you were dealing with, as each item was gifted along with its story. Janice looked around the small cabin she occupied on the diplomatic vessel. There was some tasteful yet simple clothes, a few personal toiletries, a small collection of items that she had kept with her over the years, a small framed photo of her and her husband Bill taken on their first date, a crudely made charm made by her daughter in school, a copy of her favorite book, in hardcover and well thumbed. They all sat in a small glazed pot that she'd gotten from her mother. She'd taken to using it as sort of a catch-all for things she wanted to keep around. She remembered the story her mother told her, of how the pot got from England all the way to the 4th quadrant of the galactic arm. "This is the writing utensil my father, the previous ambassador, used to sign the agreement between our people, and the scroll, ending a 120-year war, and bringing a new age of peace to the galactic arm. It is made of the limb of an untranslatable tree-type plant, which he planted on the news of my birth. He made it himself. The Treklaxile ambassador held out a small item. It shone almost silver, with organic curves. Janice placed her hands under his tentacle, and he placed it lightly in her hand. His smooth, leathery skin, warm to the touch and soft against her hands. She took a moment to examine the object. It was polished smooth as glass in the places where the tentacles would have held it, and was heavier than it looked. It clearly was a fine piece of craftsmanship, and had been well used and cared for.
I thank you for your gift. Allow me to reciprocate,
she said. She could hear the strange owling hooting that came from the translator. She placed the alien stylus on a small velvet-covered tray, and from next to it she took the pot.
This was made nearly 800 years ago, on the cradle world of my people. It was made by a man who is my direct ancestor, and it has passed from his hands to mine, in a single, unbroken chain of family that stretches back from before my people could fly, to now, when we fly amongst the stars. It is made of clay, the very soil of my planet. I have treasured it for many years, and it has traversed light years to get here. I hope it lasts for as long in your family's care as it has in my family's.
The hooting stopped. The Treklaxile ambassador stood still, his eyes locked on the small pot. He waved to a nearby aide, who rolled a small cart forward. He reached out slowly and placed his tentacles gently around the lip of the pot. He lowered it immediately to the cart's surface, but kept his limbs wrapped around it. After a moment, he tore his eyes away and looked into Janice Potter's eyes.
I'm sorry, have I done something wrong?
Asked Janice, a little worried at the Sophon's response.
I am unworthy of such a gift. It is the type of thing one would give to a queen. Such history and such personal bonds. I am, as I said, unworthy.
Janice leaned in and placed her hands atop his tentacle and said, I'm sorry to have overstepped the limits of good taste in this exchange. Please forgive my ignorance. However, we are to be allies, and the Terran Collective does not make allies with those who are unworthy.
Please, treasure the pot as my family has done, and when the time comes, pass it on to your kin, and tell them it was a pot in which the seeds of peace and friendship were sown.
End of story. I'd quickly like to thank the T5 peeps: Cold War Boomerwaffen, Severin Cerberus, Bushmaster 177, Henry the Red, Caspar Arnholtz, Cold War Boomerwaffen, Elijah Silvercross, Dragzoon WRE, and Severin Cerberus. Thank you very much.